The phrase larger than life could have been creative of Brian Blessed.
I think that Piers and I will kind of burst the bubble of the universe. And we'll make God smile.
Brian Blessed has been a huge TV star.
Kill the bastard!
Big movie star.
Die!
He's this incredible adventurer. He likes to go to the North Pole, climb Mount Everest.
I've got him!
My life has always been touched by magic.
My real challenge tonight is to try and get beneath this huge, bombastic character. What's he really like?
You'll get honesty from me. He'll ask awkward questions.
Brian Blessed is a bit unpredictable. I'm worried that tonight could spiral out of control.
May the best two men win.
Anything could happen. Brian Blessed.
Yes.
You are just this huge, vivacious beast, aren't you?
Yes, indeed, I am, yes. I'm primitive, yes, I am. I'm absolutely, totally primitive, yes. I love life. I love people, love life. I can't wait to get up in the morning and get to it. I just love life.
Are you slightly mad?
Well, I think...
In the best possible way?
Well, I think, yes, I am. I think that when people tell you you're mad, then you're heading in the right direction.
But listen, I want to turn to your most famous trademark, your booming voice.
Yes.
Have you always had this dramatic, theatrical voice?
Yes, as a child.
I can't imagine you as like a 7-year-old. Mother! Tea! Were you like that?
Well, I was always... quite gentle, but I could shout when I wanted to. I've always had it. I've always been in amateur theatre, which has helped so greatly, and then in rep and so forth, and onwards. I've always had this voice.
Your lungs can hold 12 litres of air.
They measured it in Doncaster. They found my lungs were twice the normal size.
It must help the power of your voice.
It does indeed. I mean, by the way, I haven't said it, have I, to you all? I've got to say it to you. Everybody wants me to say it, don't they? Gordon's alive! I do train my voice. I go off in my cabin and so forth, and I train all the time. I just do all the and I just train and work on my voice.
That's your Pavarotti impression.
That's my Pavarotti
You can do Pavarotti,
Yes,
right?
I can, yes.
Bit of Nessun Dorma for us?
Oh, you can't without an orchestra. You're pushing away, Piers.
Just straight off the cuff.
Are you sick of living,
I'm
Piers?
challenging you.
Sole, chi è bello in me, oh solo mio, stanno fronte a te, oh sole mio, stanno fronte a te, stanno fronte a te.
Fantastic. Quite a bit off. Amazing. That was amazing. You did the Pavarotti impression and it got tested. And your voice registered louder on the airport equipment that was being used to test you than some of the incoming jets.
Yes.
That is a fact.
It was at Robin Hood Airport in Doncaster. So I was putting one in front of one of these machines, and I did all that. Yeah. Oh, solo mio! And
it's breaking my ears.
It broke the machine.
You actually, just a final thing on your voice, but you actually do the sat-nav voice, don't you?
Oh, I do, yes, I do.
Can you give me a quick line that you do the sat-nav?
Well, the police said, you know, people fall asleep at the wheel during the day. And
well, they certainly wouldn't with you.
So I go there, turn right, turn left, and watch out for the chickens. And watch out for the whack. I mean, I'll suddenly say, you've arrived at your destination, and do a Tarzan war cry.
Oh, no.
I'll do that. Congratulations, you arrived at your destination.
You've described yourself as looking like a gorilla. We actually have a picture of you and a gorilla.
Have you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh! That's right.
Very, very similar.
They're wonderful creatures. And I've always got on marvellously with gorillas. There used to be one called Gurgis at Canterbury, Aspinall's place. He was about 6'4". Gurgis, very powerful. And I'd go along and see Gurgis and sit with him. And, of course, you know, you have to... You know, we are aggressive because we do this. And it's aggressive. And, of course, with the gorilla, you just... and you just touch the back of your hand. And at Gurgis now, again, I'd wrestle him. I'd be wonderful to wrestle.
You would wrestle a gorilla?
Oh, God, wonderful. Because I'm black belt judo, and I'd do all kinds of holes on him. And get him underneath the leg, and grab his dick.
Wait a minute.
Grab his dick. Just grab... If he's... Jesus Christ, Gurgis! I'd just stab it up. And he would do that, Gurgis. Anyway,
actually...
but the females... This is the female.
I dread to think what you did to them. Let's take a break, because I need to try
You're
and
going to take a break?
I need a rest. I need a break.
I was going to grab your cock then.
No, you weren't. Brian, in half a century as an actor, you've played everything from superheroes to Shakespeare.
Yes.
Gordon's alive.
Brian Blessed, actor,
Top of the morning to you.
Brian has become an institution.
adventurer,
I've got out.
Brian is a force of nature.
and national monument.
He is a one-off. It's as simple as that.
Oh!
A big guy with a beard and a huge voice.
Kill the bastard!
He's a great British eccentric.
Go beneficitira!
Oh, I think Brian's completely off the wall. He is absolutely nuts.
Brian's made more than 30 films and 60 TV series and played everything from tough guy cops
Where is she?
to romantic leads
Will you marry me?
He's very versatile.
in a 50-year acting career which has taken him from his native Yorkshire to Hollywood.
Brian is iconic.
Today, we sail for the shores of North America.
Brian's also put his life on the line as a daredevil explorer. He's climbed some of the world's highest mountains
We're gonna sail to the top this time. God willing.
and walked to the magnetic North Pole.
It is amazing what this man gets up to.
What a performance!
After rising to fame on British TV, Brian became a movie star with his classic role as Prince Vultan in the 1980 cult sci-fi film Flash Gordon.
Brian became this iconic, classic cult.
Squadron 40! Die!
It's so right for him in a way.
Let the combat begin!
Coming down from the sky with a great big beard and wings.
Flash Gordon is the making of the brand Brian Blessed.
Who wants to live forever?
Brian went on to star in one of the most successful sitcoms of all time.
Who are you?
He's our son.
What?
Brian, in the first series of Blackadder, plays this enormous medieval king.
In some ways, the character literally was Brian.
Blood! Death! War! Rampant puppet!
He was funny, but he actually was scary.
My trusty fruit knife!
And it's not just been comedy. Brian's classical acting skills have earned him a reputation with some of the world's leading filmmakers.
This was a merry mess, eh?
Ken Branagh has asked Brian to be in most of his Shakespearean productions.
As we, his subjects, have in wonder found between the promise of his greener days and these he masters now.
Brian also made an award-winning performance in the acclaimed TV drama I, Claudius.
He brought a lot of pathos to it, I think, of human fallibility, human feeling.
You have a knife in your hand. I wouldn't blame you if you used it.
Brian's death scene is amazing.
There is a moment when you watch very carefully when you see the light go out in his eyes. extraordinarily powerful. One of the best bits of television acting I've ever seen.
But has Brian's larger-than-life personality
St. George!
overshadowed his thespian skills?
Because he's done so many other strange things and caused chaos everywhere he's gone.
What a stand on this table!
Brian isn't taken as seriously as I think he should be.
He's absolutely brilliant at being subtle and quiet and underplaying.
I wasn't being inattentive, my sweet.
He's a very, very fine talent.
Under the Bluster is a really mighty, giant size, proper great actor.
Well, I'm absolutely astonished by that. I mean, it really is quite wonderful. It really is quite gorgeous, you know. And, of course, Patrick and I've known him since he was 9 years of age in Yorkshire. He used to come to my little council house. I was 12, and we'd do Shakespeare scenes together. I remember my father, because all the miners knew their Shakespeare, and Patrick was doing Cassius' speech. And my father came in and said, "That's not very good. You're not feeling it enough," and so forth. And I said, "Look, he's just 9 years of age." "Come on, Dad, come on." And I defended him. Anyway, many, many years later, my father said to me, "Oh, I do like that actor in Star Trek, the bald man. He's fantastic." I said, "Yeah, he's the guy you gave notes to in my sitting room."
Which of all your performances do you think is the greatest?
I think it's Return to Treasure Island. And I played Long John Silver. I never forget, right at the end, my mother watching it was... She said I was devastated. I went through 20 episodes trying to get the diamonds, trying to move governments, trying to move villains, trying to destroy the Spanish army and everything. And then right at the end, all the diamonds are vaporized on the sea. My mother's crying her eyes out. And I got out to sea. And I was out of sight. And the camera's on me. And I started to undo the crutch. And it was full of the diamonds. He had the diamonds, and I emptied the diamonds across my face, and I just roared, "Flint! Flint! I got them all!" And my mother said, "Oh, you bastard!" She said, I was weeping my eyes out, and you were bloody lying all the time. I said, you can't trust Long John Silver. I think maybe that.
Do you think, though, that you've never had enough critical acclaim as an actor because of the incredible larger-than-life personality?
Well, I think for them not to worry. I have a huge public, there's no end to my talents. I have a huge public who deeply appreciate me, who do see it. They do see. They come along, the butcher, the baker, the council, "Oh, I think you're a great actor." "Really? Oh, I'm so moved." I seem to get through.
I've heard that the Queen is a fan of your acting. Is that true?
When she was pregnant, it was during Z-Cars. Of course, I started in Z-Cars as Fancy Smith. And so it was put in the main press, the weekend magazine. The Queen's favourite actor is Brian Blessed. He keeps her happy as Fancy Smith in pregnancy.
And have you met the Queen?
Yes.
And has she confirmed that she's a fan?
No, no, I think she just simply, she would know. I just heard you're going to Mount Everest. You're far too old to be going to Mount Everest. I call her Knuckles. She hits me with her knuckles. You're far too old to be going to Mount Everest. I'm going to make a royal edict and order you not to go, but you wouldn't obey, would you? I said, no.
We've been told by a very good source that she sometimes asks you to treat her to a rendition of your famous line from Flash Gordon. Is that true?
Yeah, she was at a Christmas... doing a Christmas show at the Palace for Prince Charles and so forth. You know, we watch Flash Gordon all the time.
She's right there. It's just extraordinary.
We watch Flash Gordon all the time, me and the grandchildren. You know, would you mind saying to the grandchildren, "Gordon's alive"? So, "Gordon's alive!" She said, "Thank you so much." She said, "Well, Dad, I can't live with you or come and see you. You have to live your life and I'll live my life."
And have you spoken to her since? You were born in Mexborough, South Yorkshire in 1936. Parents were Bill, who was a coal miner, and Hilda. What did your mother say about your appearance when you were born?
She said, "My God, he looks like a toad." I look like a toad. I mean, my eyes wouldn't open, and I looked dreadful. I was the ugliest baby they'd ever seen. My mother's in tears, horrified at my appearance. And so the nurses said, well, eventually his eyes will open, and he'll have lovely eyes. I'm sure. My eyes opened him, but they look a bit fierce now. And I had these lovely brown, dark brown eyes, the blessed eyes. Then she took me home, and eventually I got blonde hair and became very handsome. And then my mother showed me to everybody downstairs.
Did you have a happy childhood?
My memory was, you see, the war years. Born in 1936. My father's a coal hewer, which meant he got rid of 17 tons a day by his hand onto conveyor belts. There were deaths all the time. It was completely Dickensian. My father, in the coal mine, got gas 3 times. He was burnt. He was crushed. The miners said to me, "Your dad, today, Brian, 5 men were crushed. The roof fell in. 1 man had his legs pinned, and your dad went amongst them." He said, "And pulling them loose." He said, "We've never seen bravery like it." And the rocks were above him. They could have fallen on him any minute now, and he wasn't concerned about his own safety. Jesus, I was proud of my dad. He was a wonderful man.
And he spent 8 months in hospital after that.
Well, I guess he was hit about a week later, and he very badly broken up, and the men around him died in hospital, and I thought he'd die as well. But he pulled through, but he was injured for a long time and had to go into a home for treatment.
And because of that, he couldn't earn money for the family.
No, he couldn't earn money for the family.
And you were 15.
Yes.
Your mother didn't want you going down the mine.
No. My father earned about 14 quid a week, which is a lot of money, and now it was 16 shillings, sick pay. And so I had to find a job. I had to leave school. I mean, that broke my heart. And the only job I could get was undertaker's assistant, which was 35 bob a week, building coffins and putting people in it. This is all getting very serious, and the fact that I did that for quite a while, and then one of our best friends, who was a great cyclist, pursuit cyclist, he was killed by a car. And I went to the morgue to make this coffin, and he was in it. Oh, Jesus. I built his coffin, and I left. And the next job I could only get was a plasterer, because I was 15. And I became a plasterer and became a master plasterer.
So, Brian, you left Yorkshire behind, and you found that acting brought you more than just stardom. The son of a miner, Brian was born in South Yorkshire in 1936, and from the beginning he stood out from the crowd.
He was always a remarkable presence. In a room, he was the one that would stand out.
He started to do school plays, and that's where he discovered that he was rather good at this.
He could hold an audience, even as a school kid.
Brian set his sights on a place at drama school, and 5 years later won a scholarship.
To start off leaving school at 14 and to actually achieve it from sheer dedication is quite fabulous.
At drama school, Brian also found love. He met and married Anne Bowman, a fellow student. And in 1962 came his first big acting break in the pioneering police drama Z-Cars.
He had this extraordinary success very early on. He created the now iconic role of Fancy Smith.
Don't think, don't look, and don't speak. If there's any crime solving to be done, we'll do it.
In that part, he was a bit of a hard man.
I'm going to have to take you in. On what charge? Stealing property from an old toy company.
Z-Cars catapulted him into stardom.
Now then, let's set about catching these villains.
He didn't have a beard in those days, and he was so good-looking.
Brian became a fixture of British TV, starring in a string of hit shows.
Don't you know anything? Any fool can tell it's a big operation.
Brian was always ambitious.
We shall be as gods in the universe.
But as Brian's career flourished, his marriage to Anne began to fail, and they separated. In 1973, he starred in an ITV costume drama alongside actress Hildegard Neal.
We have a living to make.
Yeah, that's right.
So bring us the lodgers, Master William, and we will make it.
Hildegard played a lady whose husband had died at sea. Brian played a local guy who used to drive them in the carriage.
You do not believe in such curses.
No, but it was cheaper that way. A bargain.
I disliked him enormously. He was great fun. He did most of the talking, but I did a lot of suitable listening.
So
they suddenly realised there was perhaps more to it than just leading man and leading lady.
I'm sorry, William. Forgive me.
I could see how they very quickly connected.
I owe you so much, William. So much. My dear.
Took Brian a long time. Took him 9 episodes to get around to telling me that he thought I was quite a nice lady.
You are a vexatious creature.
Brian and Hildegard married and had a daughter, Rosalind. They've now been together for 40 years.
Hildegard and Brian, they're a bit like a double act, really.
He goes rabbit and I go, oh, really? And then we laugh.
It is one of the most enduring marriages in showbiz.
When did you first realise that Hildegard was going to be more than just a co-star?
Well, I've always been puzzled by Hildegard, tremendously attracted by her straight away. I never quite worked out what it was, because tremendous beauty, but tremendous talent. I was just very, very, very shy of her, and not really a great wooer, not a great lover in that respect. I didn't know how really to put 2 sentences together. But there was something in me that thought, be patient. Be patient. I've got a feeling about this.
You were both married when you met?
Yes, I was married, yes. I was married to an American. I've been married since drama school. We've been buddies at drama school, Anne and I, and she's going back to America. So we thought we've got to get married to stay together as a partnership. I was only 20. I was an idiot.
Did you love her?
Yes, yeah. I was a wild man. She was very, very wild creature and terrific. But we just didn't see one another. She was an actress. She was in America all the time, and I was in England.
You had a baby girl, right?
We had a baby girl, Kathy.
Yeah.
And it was fine. But we just drifted away from each other. We never saw each other. And it just really melted away.
You had a difficult relationship with your daughter, Kathy.
Yes. I think I'm a failed hero to her. I took her up Kilimanjaro. I thought many years ago, I'd take her up Kilimanjaro. We were very close on it. And when it was over, she said, well, Dad, I can't live with you or come and see you. You have to live your life and I'll live my life. And that was it, which I was very surprised at.
And that was like 1990, 91?
Yes, yes.
And have you spoken to her since?
No, I haven't, no.
Not once?
No, not once, no. No, not once. No.
How do you feel about that?
Well, I miss her. I miss her. I miss many aspects of her. You know, but that's what she wanted.
Have you tried to contact her?
No, because I respected what she wanted. I respected it.
See, you're a very loving husband now,
yes.
and a very loving father to your daughter, Rosalind, but I find it hard to believe that you could not see your daughter for 23 years or have any contact, and that wouldn't be, in the back of your mind, a big chasm in your life.
Well, that's what she wants.
How does that make you feel?
It's not what I want, but it's what she wants. So therefore, I respect that. I respect that.
Hildegard, obviously, has been the great love of your life?
Yes, indeed, yes, yes.
We've got a wedding photo here.
Yes, yes.
Interesting image there,
yes,
Brian.
it is, yes. In the beginning, we didn't have time to get married. We were so busy working and acting. We just couldn't find the time to get married. When I met Hildegard, I wanted a child with her immediately. And then we got Rosalind. A love child. Oh, I wanted to make her pregnant, so passionate.
But you do everything with huge passion, don't you?
Yes, I do, yes.
Literally everything?
Yes. And so that was it, and we got married that day.
And you've been married nearly 40 years?
Yes.
If I was interviewing your wife, what would she say about you?
I mean, I think that if I didn't do 2.5 hours a day meditation, I'd be insufferable. I think that... because
I'm 2.5 hours a day?
I've got a 10-litre engine of great power and so forth. And, of course, I have great ambitions. Comes out of my nostrils. I've gargantuan appetites and a great love of life. And Hildegard is much more placid and pensive.
But it takes an extraordinary woman. Look, I am captivated by your company.
Yes.
But the idea of 40 years of this, Brian Blessing...
Yes, yes.
...would be overwhelming.
Well, about 5 days ago, Hildegard's walking... I've got my own shed. I love my shed, full of all my expeditions and models of elephants inside and so forth. And Hildegard's going around, Brian! Brian! Brian, where are you? And I'm hidden round a corner with my little dog, with a book. And to a certain extent, that's me. There is a stillness in the storm, and I love stillness. I adore stillness and silence. An hour, and I'm on the summit. He came towards me, and he was dying. His oxygen had collapsed.
The ultimate moral dilemma. Kenneth Branagh described you as the quietest, stillest man he knows. I find that very hard to believe.
Yes, I don't know many actors. I don't have many friends as actors. And Branagh's, we have this father-son relationship. I think that I'm the son and he's the father. And he's an incredibly old guy compared to me. And we kind of... He's about 5 minutes from where I live, which is very lovely, in a lovely house. I've got a little tiny cottage. And he comes over when we walk the dogs. And I have my great hut, and we sit in there, and we meditate together for half an hour.
You and Kenneth Branagh meditate
Oh,
together?
yes, indeed. And we go for long walks. I think my main thing with Branagh is, by the way, he's not a lovey. He hates all that bollocks. He hates loveys. All that shite.
Are you a lovey, Brian?
No, not at all, love, not at all. Hello, darling. No. No, I'm not a lovey either. And we go for these long walks, and he'll suddenly have a doubt about doing some great venture. And I say, what are you bloody worried about? I'm going to the North Pole. I'm going to Everest. What you fucking so scared? You know, and oh, yes.
I'm told you also taught Keanu Reeves to meditate.
Ah, well, no, Keanu was doing Buddha.
The film Little Buddha.
That's right. Keanu, people always find it difficult to relate to him. And when I met him, I used to make little noises to him that used to make him laugh. Because it's the only way you could really converse with Keanu was by sound. And he loved that. And he'd fall on the floor, and he'd make his body move to the sounds I was giving him. And he'd fall on the ground and do a strange movement.
Wait a minute. I need to get my head around this. Keanu Reeves, one of the world's most famous movie stars, is crouched on the floor like a dog or something.
That's right, yes.
And you're making these weird noises.
I made him a child.
And he's then moving around as if these are dog instructions.
Yes, like one of kind of those stick guys, yes, like a little stick man. It made him
give me
happy.
some other noises you made to him.
Well, like that. Oh, and lots of belches, all kinds of things I did to him. He absolutely adored, and he adored me. And now and again, I get a phone call. My wife answered it a while ago, and the man said, "Tell Brian my head's still on." It's Keanu. I said, "You've been talking to one of the great sex symbols of the world."
When it came to realising your lifetime's ambition, you literally had a mountain to climb. By the 1980s, Brian was enjoying family life with wife Hildegard and daughter Rosalind.
Brian thinks the world of Hildegard and Rosalind.
On screen, Brian was topping the bill on film and TV.
Long John Silver come to see his old shipmate.
And he even starred in a West End musical when he became the surprise choice to star on the original cast of Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cats.
Brian wasn't known as having a talent for singing. And, of course, he does have this wonderful tenor voice.
You've heard of several kinds of cat.
To put him in a show such as Cats lent it great gravitas.
But despite his success, Brian still hadn't achieved his lifetime ambition.
His passion is mountains.
Brian's been dreaming of climbing Everest since he was a kid.
Brian took up serious mountaineering in his 30s and climbed the highest peaks in Europe and South America.
To maybe his surprise, because he is a big man, he was actually very good at this.
Brian now aimed for his ultimate goal, Everest. And the dream soon became an obsession.
It's all Brian talked about from morning till night for 2 or 3 years.
It was really taking him over to an unhealthy degree.
Brian was convinced he could get to the summit.
In 1990, age 53, he finally got the chance. But being Brian, as if a task wasn't stiff enough, he climbed in the style of his hero, George Mallory, the 1920s Everest pioneer. Brian wore period clothing and used no oxygen supply.
Brian climbed Everest the hard way.
Brian began his ascent to the world's tallest mountain.
That place is actually lethal. Everest is the most extreme possible environment for a human body.
What the hell am I doing here? I'm scared of the mountain. I'm unqualified to go up there. I'm following a dream.
There was a 10% chance of dying, which is 1 in 10 people going up were going to die.
It's the hardest thing I've done in my life.
The fear got overridden by just his sense of determination.
It's hell. I never envisaged this.
He surprised himself with just how gutsy and tough he actually was.
Against all the odds, Brian battled his way up to 25,000 feet.
The summit was in sight, but he was struggling.
There's just no air. I've got to stop. I'll never get back. I won't get home.
He was horribly disappointed and dismayed at the thought of having to turn back.
3 years later, Brian made another failed attempt to climb Everest. In 1996, he prepared for a third bid to realise his dream of reaching the summit, again without using oxygen.
This was his last chance at Everest.
Mum and I had hoped that it would be over.
I am a man of my age. I need all the prayers in the world. I look at that, it's so colossal.
You're tipping the scales a bit when it's your third time, you know, you're 59.
He began to think, I've got a problem. Things are not going well.
I guess I'm dying.
Once again, he was forced to turn back.
When that moment came, the realization that the dream was over, he was very accepting of it.
I've done my best, and that makes me happy.
To go out there and even try was magnificent. To actually have done what he did really was a fantastic achievement.
Everest has always kind of been very alluring in that kind of way. It is amazing how you can be an armchair philosopher. When I was there in 1993, when I did this, kind of broke the world record at 28,000 feet without oxygen for my age, I went up the ice field, I went up the Western Combe, and then the Lhotse Face. And I went on and on and on. 27, 28, 28,500. I was at 28,500 feet on the south summit. There's the summit. An hour, and I'm on the summit.
And you can see it?
I can see it.
So what happened when you...
Well, I got to 28,500 feet, and I was about to go for the summit. And I felt, Jesus, powerful. And this Catalan climber came towards me. He came towards me, and he was dying. His oxygen had collapsed. Shit. And I knew there was oxygen 1,000 feet down. There's an oxygen catch. Come on, come on. Held him. I rolled him on the floor because he was dying, and I'm pushing him and scratching him and pushing him. I got him down 1,000 feet to where this oxygen was. I put his bottle on this Poiscon. I screwed it on. I gave him his oxygen. Got another bottle. Put it in my rucksack for him. 10 hours later, I got him down to the South Pole and saved his life. You see, it was more important to me to save his life than to get to the summit. I think a mountain is not just a summit.
A part of you must have been thinking the ultimate moral dilemma.
Yeah.
Do I just ignore this guy
Yes, that's right.
and achieve my great ambition?
People have been ignored up there and left to die. It has happened on an enormous level.
And if you're honest, did you think about it?
No, not at all.
And despite all this, well, actually, more understandably now, I get it. You went back up a third time?
Well, the third time was dreadful. I hated it. My mother was dying, and my brother was dying. So at 25,000 feet, I turned round when he saw me there and went back and went home. And my brother died, and my mother died. Had I been wiped out, my father was 90-something, then would have been no blessings. So I had to get back. But it wasn't a good expedition, that one.
You were very close to your brother. He'd always had ill health, as you said. He died in his early 50s, I think.
Yeah, it's a leukemia.
Losing your brother and your mother in close proximity like that, what effect did that have on you?
Well, I suppose I have such a profound... I've been lucky to have such experiences in life, and spiritual, and so forth, and on mountains, etc., and astonishing experiences, that I feel that, you know, that life is the last word and death is not. And so I don't think of him as dead at all. He doesn't feel dead, or my mother doesn't feel dead. They just don't feel dead.
Your father, Bill, he lived to 99. Was he proud of all your achievements?
Yes, oh, very, very. He had incredible depth. In the middle of my Everest expeditions, he would say, what is it like on Everest? Whereas my mother would say, you won't forget to wrap up. She never was quite sure of how dangerous it was.
Will you ever try again?
Yes, I will, yes.
You're in your mid-70s,
Oh, yes, I can do it.
You're going to
Yes, I can do it,
seriously
yes.
go back up Everest?
Yes, I can do it. The southern
Do you think
side.
you can reach the summit?
I think on the southern side, yes. It's because when I went to 28,000 feet, just above...
Have you told Hildegard?
No, I haven't told her, no.
Hildegard, I've got some bad news for you. He's going up again.
She will do. I'll do it quite quickly.
She's saying you're not.
I know she isn't.
Your daughter is also shaking her head.
She's shaking her head as well.
They're giving you the thumbs down, Brian. His agent saying no as well. No, you've got three very key people in your life saying no.
Absolutely, yes.
Will that have any bearing on your decision?
No, not at all, no. No, not at all.
You're serious, aren't you?
Absolutely, yes.
Here's the choice. You can either go to space or have Hildegard, but you can't do both. Is it true that you still work out?
Oh, yes, I do, yes.
You run 7 miles a day?
Well, at the moment, I'm doing about 2 or 3 miles.
And you do an enormous amount of weight?
I bench press about 300 pounds, yes.
And how often do you do weight?
Every day.
For how long?
Well, I do it for about half an hour to an hour. I can do an Olympic lift. Yes, and so I've always done it. And so I always exercise. Not out of vanity. It's because so that I can be ready for my expeditions. So I'm there always ready and fit and tuned up if I'm called. So it's not it's the things I want to do in life. I cannot stand this age thing. I mean, I will not be restricted. I want to do the things I want to do.
How old are you, Brian?
I'm 76.
Are you really?
I'm 77.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Brian, your exploring's taking you to all 4 corners of the Earth, but nowadays, for you, the world is not enough. As Brian reached his 70s, he found himself more in demand than ever.
Once more unto the breach, dear friends, once more!
He's become a cult figure in a most extraordinary way.
Darling, I'm so sexy!
He's very popular with young people.
As well as acting, Brian headlines at student unions and sci-fi conventions.
I don't need a microphone!
And even heavy metal gatherings.
I went with my father to the Metal Hammer Awards, and they're all chanting, Brian, Brian. The response he gets, it is like he's some kind of bizarre kind of Viking rock star.
He's a throwback to the great Victorian eccentrics. And there's nobody like that today in most young people's ken.
Don't let the bastards grind you down!
And there's no one else who does what he does in this country.
Brian also made an unforgettable appearance as host of our Vigot News for You.
When he was on Have I Got News for You, I don't think they knew what to make of Brian.
Gordon Brown has a huge mountain to climb. Ooh, lucky bastard.
Such a big personality, they couldn't compete.
Osama bin Laden's son, Dave.
Dave.
No. I knew you'd fall for that.
Brian is still a star turn as an actor.
The condemned man ate a hearty breakfast.
In 2011, Brian appeared opposite his own actress daughter, Rosalind, playing her on-screen father in a TV drama.
I wish I'd been born infertile.
I wish I'd been brought up by wolves.
My dad's character was essentially slipping into dementia, and he was fighting against that.
Oh, dear.
Daddy, are you all right?
Yeah, I frightened Sterling Moss here.
They were lovely together, absolutely lovely. It was a joy for me to watch that.
And even though Brian's now 76, his passion for exploring still takes him around the world, and maybe beyond it.
Brian would love to go into space.
He's always had a fascination with space and space travel.
It's not impossible that he could achieve this.
Brian's ultimate dream is a flight into orbit as a space tourist. And to prepare, he's even visited the Russian Cosmonaut Training Center in Moscow.
Brian is very serious about going into space.
Brian taking one more step to leave the planet doesn't surprise me at all. I'd like to do it with him, actually. It would be appropriate, wouldn't it?
I think Patrick and I will do it.
I mean, you are serious about space,
Yes,
aren't
indeed. I go and lecture to the world's great scientists, mainly because since the age of 6, I've always been so horribly disappointed that we have not gone to Mars, like Dan Dare, pilot of the future, journey into space. I always say that we are the children of stardust. We don't just belong here. We belong in space as well. You have to understand that I've done about 600 to 800 hours of space training, that I've been to the space city Moscow. I've had Putin watch me. I've been with top astronauts.
Right, how will you actually get into space?
They're now making a new rocket, and there is a special rocket now being made, a secret rocket, of which I am going to be part of it. And I'm going to be on it next February.
Does Hildegard know you're doing this?
No.
Hildegard, more good news. Brian's going up in a space rocket in February. I have had to break the news via you to your wife.
Yes,
you're going
yes.
back up Mount Everest in your mid-70s.
That's right.
And now you're booked on a space rocket
That's
next
right.
February.
It's a good place to tell her. I'm using you as a foil, and it makes you smile, which is lovely.
If I said to you, you can either go to space, right, or have Hildegard, but you can't do both, what would you choose?
Hildegard.
Really?
Oh, yes. She's number one in my life.
And yet you keep going up these mountains.
I do, hoping she'll look the other way and not notice I've gone.
Where do you find the time for all this?
I just find time. I write my own script. I feel there are Everests everywhere. And you must follow your dream. It can be a Zimmer frame. It can be something in the hospital you're doing, getting that leg forward. It can be a greenhouse. We all have our Everests.
How would you like to be remembered?
Oh, not at all.
That is highly unlikely, Brian.
No. Quite simply, I don't want to be remembered for anything. I'd much rather people remembered themselves. And I think that's what life is about. People must remember themselves. That's where it starts. Don't remember me now. No, there's such bloody vanity, isn't it? I want to be remembered for bollocks!
Brian Blessed, it's been one of the most remarkable interviews I think I have ever conducted, and I have concluded that you're not mad, you are magnificent. Thank you.
So are you. Lovely man. You're a lovely man.
Amazing.
What an incredible man. And Life Stories continues in 2 weeks with Julian Cleary here on ITV. He's back on the streets and out to get the unsuspecting. Full Britannia with Dom Jolly tomorrow night at 6:30. Next, stay with us for your Friday ITV News at 10.
The phrase larger than life could have been creative of Brian Blessed.
I think that Piers and I will kind of burst the bubble of the universe. And we'll make God smile.
Brian Blessed has been a huge TV star.
Kill the bastard!
Big movie star. He's this incredible adventurer. He likes to go to the North Pole, climb Mount Everest.
I've got out! My life has always been touched by magic.
My real challenge tonight is to try and get beneath this huge, bombastic character. What's he really like?
You'll get honesty from me. You'll ask awkward questions.
Brian Blessed is a bit unpredictable. I'm worried that tonight could spiral out of control.
May the best two men win.
Anything could happen. Brian Blessed.
Yes.
You are just this huge, vivacious beast, aren't you?
Yes, indeed. I am, yes. I'm primitive. Yes, I am. I'm absolutely, totally primitive. Yes, I love life. I love people, love life. I can't wait to get up in the morning and get to it. I just love life.
Are you slightly mad?
Well, I think...
in the best possible way?
Well, I think, yes, I am. I think that when people tell you you're mad, then you're heading in the right direction.
But listen, I want to turn to your most famous trademark, your booming voice.
Yes.
Have you always had this dramatic, theatrical voice?
Yes, as a child.
Can't imagine you as like a 7-year-old. Mother! Tea! Were you like that?
Well, I was always... quite gentle, but I could shout when I wanted to. I've always had it. I've always been in amateur theatre, which has helped so greatly, and then in rep and so forth, and onwards. I've always had this voice.
Your lungs can hold 12 litres of air.
They measured it in Doncaster. They found my lungs were twice the normal size.
It must help the power of your voice.
It does indeed. I mean, by the way, I haven't said it, have I, to you all? I've got to say it to you. Everybody wants me to say it, don't they? Gordon's alive! I do train my voice. I go off in my cabin and so forth, and I train all the time. I just do all the and I just train and work on my voice.
That's your Pavarotti impression.
That's my Pavarotti
You can do Pavarotti,
Yes,
right?
I can, yes.
Bit of Nessun Dorma for us?
Oh, you can't play without an orchestra. You're pushing away, Piers.
Just straight off the cuff.
Are you sick of living,
I'm
Piers?
challenging you.
Sole, chi è bello in me, oh solo mio, sta davanti a te, oh sole mio, sta davanti a te, sta davanti a te.
Fantastic. Amazing. That was amazing. You did the Pavarotti impression and it got tested, and your voice registered louder on the airport equipment that was being used to test you than some of the incoming jets.
Yes.
That is a fact.
It was at Robin Hood Airport in Doncaster. So I was putting one in front of one of these machines, and I did all that. Yeah. Oh, solo mio! And
Actually breaking my ears.
It broke the machine.
You actually